I thought Louisville played pretty well. Like, they fought in this game. They hung around. They made it a game. But at the end of the day, Lamont Butler was unbelievable. 33 points, 10 of 10 from the floor. Your reaction?
Well, first let's set the stage a little bit, right? The difference, and we've been used to, John Calipari, Rick Pitino, and then John Calipari, Chris Mack, and then John Calipari, Kenny Payne, and he has just, destroyed all of them for the most part, right? He's owned he's owned this rivalry for a long time, and now we've got Mark Pope, Pat Kelsey, and I think going into the year we weren't sure what this game would bring when it happened. On December 14th. We circled in. We said, like, anybody could win this thing. I don't know what's going to happen going in. They both have completely new teams. Neither roster looked overpowering. Both looked solid. Rob tried to tell me that Louisville was going to, be a Final Four team because they beat a team in the Bahamas with a 13-year-old and a 49-year-old or 59-year-old, whatever it was.
No, that carry on, Jeff.
No, wait. There's one main takeaway from this show thus far. I've now heard Goodman say 3 times on this show, this is what I've been saying. This has been a where Goodman was right show the entire way.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. Listen, it's rare, so I have to take advantage of it, okay? It does not happen often. And
go on about Mark Pope. What do you want to say about Mark Pope? Tell me.
Well, just that, again, we thought this would be a fairly even matchup, a flip of the coin game. And instead, Kentucky came in as a double-figure favorite in this one. And, Louisville hung around, but Kentucky controlled this thing pretty much from start to finish, and they did it with a career performance from one Lamont Butler, who came in as a defensive-minded point guard, a guy that could run a team, a guy that had been part of a lot of winning teams at San Diego State, but we were like, okay, where does he fit in with this team? Where does he fit in? And Lamont Butler fit in just fine tonight. He had 33 points, didn't miss a shot. He was 10 for 10 from the field. The only Kentucky players who have had a better game, a more efficient game from the field are Rodney Dent back in 1993. He went 12 for 12. And Kenny Skywalker went 11 for 11 in 1996. No Kirk Risa. Yeah, I know Louisville's shorthanded too, so don't get me wrong. Like they're not playing the style that Pat Kelsey wants to play, but Kentucky's not whole either. They're without Kirk Risa, but listen, this was a hell of a win for Kentucky, and I thought it was still encouraging. If you're Pat Kelsey, you went 2 up and you hung in there, and again, Kentucky continues to own Louisville in this series.
Yeah, I will say this. I thought Louisville played about the best game that they could play, right? You go 14 for 39 from 3 for a team that had been struggling from 3. You didn't turn the ball over for a team that has been struggling to kind of have playmakers that can initiate themselves. I think that one of the issues that Louisville has without Corin Johnson available is that they really don't have a break you down guy. And they finished this game where basically their offense was, we're going to let these guys kind of go one-on-one. It's going to be Chucky Hepburn and it's going to be Terrence Edwards out there cooking people. They had 8 assists on 31 field goals. They were winning this game by making plays one-on-one. And I think what you saw was this is about the best that it's going to get for Louisville. And if they can go and play like this, they're going to be a top 3 team, top 4 team in the ACC, even with some of the issues that they do have. And I thought despite all of that, really, really impressive to see Otega-Oweh and Lamont Butler have that impact offensively. We know what those 2 guys can do on the defensive end of the floor. And to be able to trust them to get you 50 points on 17 to 21 shooting, to be able to trust them to be able to make threes is just so valuable for what Kentucky wants to be on the offensive end, because they don't really have a dude, right? Like we've talked about this. I know Lamont Butler went for 33 tonight, but like the reason he went for 33 was because he didn't miss any shots. It's not like he was out there getting 24 shots up. He took the shots in the offense. He just made every single one of them, except for when he got to the free throw line. We asked him about that in that interview, Fanta. But being able to trust those guys to make those shots is massive. And I think it says a lot about what Kentucky is, that let me phrase it like this. After the Duke game, we're talking about how Andrew Carr made all of those important plays late, right? And after the Gonzaga game, it was like Jackson Robinson did a lot of really important things for him, and they did this and they did that. Kobe Brea has been this guy that hasn't missed all season. And the fact that they don't have a dude, but I think that's what kind of makes them dangerous because in any of those pieces can end up beating you. So I still have a little trouble wrapping my mind around this group, this Kentucky team being in that same conversation as Tennessee and Auburn. But like at some point, it's just, you got to look at these results and say they keep piling up. Like it's not a fluke. It's not a mistake that Kentucky is where he is, or is where they are. And I'll say this: it's just a lot of fun to watch, man. Like it's refreshing to be able to watch these Kentucky Wildcats play and be like, this is fun, man. I like this group. I want to root for these guys.
Yeah, Jeff, we are 6 weeks into the season. 6 weeks in. And I could play the game with you and name teams and ask you, well, would you take them over Kentucky? But like, I never thought, I don't know who did if they thought out there, that we'd be playing this game, that Kentucky would be in the top 5. Obviously, it's refreshing. But do you believe that they're a team that can be sitting there in San Antonio? Are you fully bought into that idea? What do you make of this?
No, but you got to pick 4 teams. And yeah, there are 4 teams I would take over Kentucky right now, or probably in 2.5, 3 months. But having said that, Mark Pope's got depth. He's got a lot of different pieces. They're playing hard as shit for him. I mean, that's the other part. You can tell how much these dudes want to run through a wall for Mark Pope because he gives them that freedom. And he is refreshing, not to all of them, because, again, Lamont Butler had Brian Dutcher. They're actually kind of similar personalities in some ways, right? So, like, not all of them, but I do think when you put the combination of, like, Kirk Reese goes from West Virginia last year, where it's a complete shit show, to Kentucky, and he's just like, this is the greatest thing ever. And you're winning at Kentucky. You get off to this type of start. You beat Duke. So you get some confidence, and you know what it's like. You walk around campus, you walk around town in Lexington, and you're winning. You are it in town. You are a rock star. Everybody knows honestly, you. So it's like
that's honestly my biggest concern right now with Kentucky is that, like, you have a lot of these guys that have never been quite at that level. Like, look, Andrew Carr was at
they're older.
But it's still when you're living in that fish bubble, it's easy to kind of let that
if you're a freshman,
right?
If you're a freshman, yes. I think these guys are older, so they're more mature. They can handle it better. And their personalities.
Right. Yes, but that's what I was about to say is that I do think that they have the personalities where it is kind of all about ball, right? Like that's what they're here to do. And part of, maybe you didn't have the best experience at West Virginia if you're Kirk Reese. Now you're coming here to win. Like this might be your last chance in college basketball. And I'll say this, I'm not ready to put Kentucky in the same tier as Tennessee and Auburn, but I'm not ready to sit here and say that they can't win the national title. Like I think that they absolutely can go out and win a national title this year. I think that if you're going to tell me any team that can go out and win 6 in a row, Kentucky is absolutely in that conversation. Are they the favorite? Probably not, right? But can they do it? What have you seen so far from them this year that would make you say that they can't win a big game? Beating Duke in the Champions Classic when they were down in the second half, coming back from 16 and halftime in Seattle at 11:30 local time or 11:30 Eastern time, against a Gonzaga team that is a top 10 team in America, beating this Louisville team the way that they did tonight. I think when you watch them play and the different ways that they beat you, it's like kind of like the matchup proof. And I would say, I think their floor is as high as anybody in college basketball. I think that if you get the absolute best Kentucky versus the absolute best of what Auburn can look like, Auburn's probably going to win that game. But I think that it's very hard for me to imagine this Kentucky team like having a really, really bad night.